right, I hope we're live now. Looks like we are. Okie dokie. All right, I guess we can start. Just give me a sec. I'm gonna bring us some light. Oh, it's usually like 1.5, 2 hours.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, I guess we can start. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's one of those usual Wednesday catch up what the AI has been up to sessions. To those watching us from home, hello, my name is Martin. We're hailing from beautiful Chiang Mai. And we're going to go through a couple of the news, a couple of the interesting repos that surfaced in the previous week. Some really interesting and cool tools, one of which, well, two of which I only found out about today, but they're really cool and I have to share them. And yeah, without further ado, I guess let's just get into it. We have about 10, 12 slides to go through, and then we'll basically open the floor up to the conversation. It's mostly familiar faces, so I guess we don't have to do a lengthy introduction. We can leave that on for later. All right, so what are we going to cover today? GitHub is absolutely expensive now, which is kind of bad, and I don't know how to feel about that. Microsoft has unveiled and introduced their own models, so GitHub being more pricey is maybe not something that's going to persist for a long time because they do want to have their own proper models, especially for coding. They're trying to bench it against Opus 4.6. Copilot alternatives, Cloud Code Cursor, Codex, Reasonix, which we introduced last week for DeepSeek. What can we do to save some money and try something else? Wikipedia editors are going on strike because AI slop. Aeon UI is the new up-and-coming repo made in China. It is actually quite comprehensive. I downloaded it, I built it, and it's similar to T3 codes, which we covered in previous sessions. A little bit different in terms of what it allows you to do with agents. T3 is more oriented towards coders and developers. Aeon is more for your day-to-day use. So it tries to replace like your Cloud Cowork, tries to replace your Codex app. Taste Skill. We're all about interesting UI and front-end development skills. Another one that joins the mix is called the Taste. We've already covered Impeccable. We've covered Open Design Library and Huashu Skill. Taste is the new addition to that. LCM, Lossless Context Management. It's from a conversation we had today with Andrew. And the way that they're handling context and the way that they're handling traversal is truly amazing. I've dug deeper into that in the previous hour, and like I definitely want to start using it. Some of the trending repos and quick hits so we can see what actually is going on in the big world of AI. GitHub Copilot. Now, how many of you are actually using GitHub Copilot? Have you ever used GitHub Copilot? It's one. Did you use the abusive loop where you basically paid $40 and you could have gotten like thousands in inference, or did you just have it?
I got it for free.
Oh, nice. And what was the pathway of you getting it for free?
I have a university degree,
Oh, okay.
and I think anyone can basically sign up for like some free university online, get the email and go and use that.
Oh, that's very cool.
You get like, I think it's unlimited free for $20.
So it was $20 and basically,
If you for the period of your study.
oh, that's cool. Well, frontier models were included in it, and I think it was 2 weeks ago they flipped and they said, okay, if you want to still use frontier models, it's going to be API-based pricing. And what happened, I don't want to say kind of overnight, but the flat rate subscription basically flipped and people started getting bills for like thousands of dollars. This is something that is going to become a recurring event. You are used to a certain service being a subscription base, so a fixed cost, very predictable. From day to day, it can switch. We are going API pricing. It happened with Cursor, it happened with Lovable, it will happen with OpenAI at some point, and it's currently happening with Claude. If you are building anything on top of Agents SDK or Claude-P, be very wary. You have about 12 days, if I'm not mistaken. After that, switch into the API-based pricing. So this is going to be a recurring event, and it's going to happen more often than not. So be very careful about that. It's currently happening with GitHub Copilot in a very nasty manner, but since very few people actually use it over here, we can, I think, quite easily skip this bit of news. What is more interesting is that Microsoft is actually unveiling their big boy models. One of the big boy models there, they have unveiled AI. Okay, so this should be fine, a little bit lower quality audio, but you know, it is what it is. So other options on the market.
Okay.
Yeah. Other options on the market with Claude Code for $200, you can pretty much build whatever the hell you want. It's a little bit technical. There is very little hand-holding, but Claude ecosystem is starting to become very much the Apple of the AI world. Second one that we have here is Cursor. Cursor for $20. They changed from version 2 to version 3. In my opinion, it's a little bit better in terms of how you can interact with AI and build stuff. With Cursor, you also have a plethora of alternatives. You have a Replit, Bold, Lovable, what's it called? The thing that you've built. So there is plethora. What? Rumata. So there is plethora of alternatives, and it's kind of a box of chocolates. So you sample, you taste, you see what works for you, you see what's actually important for you, and you move on with that. Usually the barrier of entry for Western AI, it's about $20. For Eastern AI, it's about $10. Codex CLI, my personal favorite. You can hook any AI you want into it. It does not necessarily have to be OpenAI. It's fairly simple, and any AI can help you with it. It's just switching the endpoint. And that's it. You can hook it to DeepSeek, you can hook it to a free model that you can get off the open router, and you can use everything that Codex CLI has to offer. One very notable entry for Codex CLI is the ability to become a server. So if you're building an app, you're building a website, you're building anything that needs to interact with customers, you can have this as your AI backend. And it shapes the message envelope, it brings back structured data, it is actually quite all right. So Codex CLI, my personal favorite. DeepSeek Reasonings, we tried it last week with Frank over here. He splashed in $10 and pretty much everything worked right out of the box. DeepSeek Reasonings is made to be the harness for DeepSeek. It has amazing ratio of cache hit, so you're not consuming that many raw tokens. Cache with DeepSeek is incredibly cheap. It's like 0.0003 cents per million tokens of a cache hit. So absolutely something amazing. And a new thing that we're adding into the mix is where's my mouse? New thing that we're adding into the mix is Aeon UI. I'm going to showcase it after the presentation. Aeon UI is basically what would happen if you had an open source Codex app. You can hook in any provider you want. It has capability to run multiple agents, to run orchestrator, to basically be your all AIs, all subscriptions, all API keys in one. And you just get to toggle, pick and choose. It's very cool. It's something that if you're a developer, we cover T3 code, which is again a wrapper on top of CLIs, mostly for coding. This one, not so much. I've tested it. It's mostly for day-to-day use, but it's surprisingly capable.
Anti-gravity.
Hmm?
About anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity, okay, so that's a kind of a sensitive topic because you have two camps. One camp basically loves anti-gravity. It does a lot of things well. I didn't try the newest or the latest version. I know they changed it to be more like Cursor, more like these comfortable to use apps rather than a VS Code fork. But yeah, that camp will love anti-gravity. If you're paying for a Google subscription, you have it inside of that. It's absolutely a no-brainer. Just use it. Biggest pluses and the best part of anti-gravity is that it can generate images on the fly. Because it has first-grade connection with Nano Banana, so if you are generating a website, it generates the assets for that website as well, which is something that is quite invaluable, to be honest. You don't need to have a separate service for that. everything flows through anti-gravity. On the other hand, code usually sucks and like it breaks a lot. You're going to spend a lot of time debugging. You don't really want that.
Takes time, but I use the free.
Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily bad. If you're utilizing the free tier, it's an amazing place to start. But at the same time, I think we've covered it a month ago. They've stopped support for anything else than Gemini. So in a free tier, Gemini is all you get. Fair point, it's free compute, it's from Google. Might as well take something back from them. But yeah, anti-gravity, kind of meh, to be honest. Wikipedia, they basically went on a strike because of the AI slop. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Foundation is sitting at quite a lot of money, and they're cutting the actual engineering team. So it's how to put this in a comprehensive term. When people have the ability to produce a lot of codes, which they don't understand, but it somehow runs, they might feel productive. But at the same time, it's completely fine if we're greenfielding, creating our own localized tools for ourselves. If there is something such as Wikipedia, which is a massive project, a massive foundation, and you actually build some tools that are useful for the platform, it's kind of a dick move if they let you go because of AI. So that's the general gist of it. And yeah, I think we can move on from that. Aeon UI. Let's compare it to our Claude Cowork counterpart. So you don't have to pay for it. You can choose from any model, any agent, anything that's on the market. It automatically comes with a team mode, which gives you an orchestrator and individual sub-agents to do more specific tasks. It is automatically integrated with tools such as WeChat, Telegram, Slack, and also Lark, if anyone uses Lark. I know that when I was doing research for my colleagues in China, Lark was the #1 thing. Everybody was using Lark. So a connection to Lark, it's a Chinese project, therefore most commonly used tools over there are integrated with it. It does have cron scheduling, and you can deploy a part of the runtime on remote, which is actually quite cool because of this feature, you can access it through your phone. It creates a secure tunnel. You access the desired URL, and you basically just continue your session as if you were on your laptop. It's a kind of a cool feature. I didn't explore that feature specifically, but it's very easy. Most of us have Macs. Brew install Aeon UI, done, right? You can test drive it. It already has 26,000 stars. It's a very, very, very fast growing project, and it's on the market for like 3 or 4 days. It's kind of cool. We'll look into that. I think I've covered most of this. Yeah. If you already have a subscription, it hooks into that, and the actual runtime of the app has a means of communication. So the daemon that's powering the app connects directly to Telegram, WeChat, Slack, etc. Taste skill. Again, something that I'll showcase later. Taste skill is a very interesting approach to the design. Previously, the things that we've covered. Impeccable helps layering down individual design principles and drill down on individual elements of the website or a presentation. So it's kind of all right. Huashi design, very opinionated, Eastern style design, clean, thin lines, absolutely gorgeous if you're into that style. Open design is a mix of multiple of these individual design principles, executes a design workflow from start to finish. And now we have taste. Taste is really interesting because on top of everything that I mentioned, it also captures the essence of fluidity of the website. So if you are scrolling with a certain speed, how should the elements, how should the individual portions of the website or the app react to it? It's less about, oh, this looks cool, and more about, oh, this feels good to use. And it's also not very opinionated in terms of the actual raw styles. So some of the, let's say, more retro things can surface using this skill, and it's really gorgeous. Like, I can't wait to actually show it to you. What it enforces: all of the overused fonts like Roboto, Arial, etc. are banned, so it has to go and look for something more tasteful. It forces aesthetic commitment up front, so whatever is your design style, it will have to carry it from start to finish. You can go retrofuturistic, which is quite cool. It codifies all of the rejections, so if you don't want any carousels without a narrative purpose, you just won't make them. Because this is one of the things that design, even Claude design usually does. It's like, okay, I have a bunch of data, a bunch of information that I want to show, can't fit it, okay. Instead of being creative and creating like toggles and cards, I just slap it into a carousel and done, next section. So this basically forces the LLM to be creative and to construct something out of just raw data. Agent reads a brief, infers right direction, ships interfaces that don't look templated. You can go through NPX skills, LNX, taste skill, or just go into GitHub, look for the skill, copy it, inspect it first, always inspect your skills, and then go further. LCM, this is very cool. Now, LCM is lossless context management. It's basically the answer to question, how the hell do I squeeze more out of a fixed token window? And I'm going to demonstrate it right here, how it actually works in practice. It's very easy to do. So, now we have our basic context window. That's all of this. And each turn is going to consume some of that context. That can be a tool call, that can be, oh, here is a document, summarize it for me. That can be, go to this website and bring me some data, some information. Now, after all of this, your Claude Code, Codex, any harness that you're currently using, let's say this was 20,000 tokens, they already have some sort of compression mechanism inside. Let's say the actual footprint will be 5,000 tokens. Now we go to the second turn, it's another 5,000. Third turn, another 5,000. Fourth turn, another 5,000, etc. until we reach 200,000. How do we make sure that we are not losing any data, but at the same time are trying to get more turns out of this 200,000 tokens? LCM proposes and actually executes a very simple principle. Now, with every message that you are sending, you're automatically sending everything else. So this turn sends this turn sends this. It basically just balloons until it reaches 200,000. Now, what if we took all of this, create a 500 token summary, and carry it over here? Think about it as you would think about compaction after every 4 steps. Now, that compaction obviously is not going to be perfect. The way that LCM does it, it splits this summary into summary for each individual turn that it's summarized. So you have summary 1, summary 2, summary 3, summary 4. And each of these summaries have the message, tool calls, and the output appended at the bottom. So let's say we are feeding it documents. So this will be document 1, document 2, document 3, document 4, etc. Right over here, I'm like, what the hell was in the document 1? Now, in the normal day-to-day use of Codex, of Cloud Code, or any other harness, it has the entire context in its memory. So we are doing something that's called needle in a haystack. We have a bunch of tokens, and we're trying to find the relevant information. With LCM, you are basically traversing the summaries. So, okay, so I need document 1. Where is my document 1? Oh, summary is here. Oh, I actually need something from document 1. I go here, maybe into this summary if it contains the information that I'm looking for. If not, let me just check the document 1 again. But you have multiple points in which the information can be. And this is how you keep pushing it forward. Because at the end of this, you're basically compacting 20,000 tokens into 2,000. So, okay. You're compacting 20,000 tokens into 2,000. And you're continuing the session. So it's called DAG, forgot what it is an acronym for. But it's basically the path of traversal of these individual summaries. And now when you take this as one full context window, that might not be a singular session, that might be multiple sessions with multiple compactions. And now you start seeing the hierarchy, you start seeing the tree of summaries. And the LCM on its own, it's basically a type contract of how to do the compaction, how to do the summary, and how to traverse it. Therefore, if you want to have a summary of what were we doing yesterday across 50 sessions, there will be a singular 500 token summary. We did this, and that. Okay, because we did all of this, find me a function that we did in this project at this time. And it will know how to traverse the individual summaries and get to the slot that it actually needs to look into. So it's an infinite context, sort of, for your AI that keeps the boundary very limited. As far as I know, they have 4 layers, major layers. One is the session, hour, day, and month. So you can traverse from all of these. And there is an abstraction for all of these. It's pretty cool. I highly implore that you look into it. Currently, it's available in 2 forms. One of them is called lossless claw. This is the primary one, lossless claw, because primarily it was made as a replacement for the memory system for OpenClaw. Second one, it's Vortex or Vertu Volt. Volt is from the creators of LCM. They actually created their own coding harness that uses LCM as a first grade principle. And Volt is what they use as a CLI to actually properly give infinite context during coding sessions. Volt beats Cloud Code on all of them.
A question? Or
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
If my sessions don't forget so often, is that an indicator I don't need this?
I would say so. In general, it's more about if you want your AI to be aware of what you did a week ago in a certain project, then yeah. But if you already created some sort of structure, you don't necessarily need this. But it's a kind of a good to have. especially if you're using something where you are not directly in charge. What I mean by that, OpenClaw, Hermes, any agent that is in the cloud, you fire and forget, and it has to keep and maintain the context across 15 sessions because it's so autonomous that it comes back after an hour with, okay, I'm done. But that is the scary part about OpenClaw, that is the scary part about Hermes. It says it's done, but how can you trust it that it's done? How can you trust that it got the correct context? Where is it from? What did it read? How much did it cost me at the end of the day, right? Because it's cool that it's done, but maybe it just pushed to GitHub and it pays like 2 million tokens.
Follow-up question, and experientially, do you have some stories to tell how much with this one can now trust?
I found this today. I researched into it today. I'm going to start using it tomorrow. And I was told that it's best used at Greenfield. So it's not necessarily about, okay, I've done all of this in the past, now start ingesting it. It's more about, let's start from today and start storing in a very structured manner. To a certain degree, I already do something similar. I do have my own documentation doctrine that triggers hooks. So every time I start a session, it looks into my documentation, what was the previous sprint, how do we actually do stuff, and only then comes back with an answer. And at the same time, I'm storing the entirety of my session into a documentation, which then gets ingested and run through a library. So I kind of run a primitive version of this, and it works well. It's not this though. It is nowhere near close with what is the narrative, how is it condensed, how is the summary form. No, I just vibe coded my own thing in like 2 hours. And it kind of works for me. But it's not this. I want to get into this, into something that is a little bit more structured. But yeah, LCM, very cool. So yeah, summaries condensed and then the narrative. Summaries go into the active context, original stays in the database. I was asking, and you kind of need to build around it, especially if you have a documentation base that is in MD files. It's not necessarily something that is aligned in the database. You actually want to like have some files somewhere and have that sort of telemetry over them, being able to open them, edit them, etc. Yeah, so 20K token subtrees are consuming less than 800 tokens because you can plan the traversal strategically. Where do I go? Why am I going there? What am I looking for? Benchmark Vault, they're standalone coding agents with LCM built in, outperforms Claude Code on the Olong benchmark. Now, Olong benchmark is something that we touched upon a couple of times. It is basically many-to-many connections. It is very cool that it will know that document 1 has the word raw in it, but what does it mean for what we are talking about over here? Right? You need to have that many-to-many connection, not just prompt one result, but what does it mean in the context of things? This is a paper that was released, I think, in December called RLM, Recursive Language Models, and it's basically showing that when you push any frontier model behind a certain boundary, and I think over there the major drop-off was at 32,000 tokens, went down, 64,000 tokens went down, 128,000 tokens was already way down. So it's the level of comprehension. You start very high. I know about everything.
What comes down? What is this?
It's the level of comprehension, connecting many to many. You have a project that does something, that means something for me, right? Here, I understand that. Over here, I just know that Slava does a project. And that's the only connection. Like, what does it mean to me? I don't fucking know. Like, right here, it's getting dumber. And I think that's an experience that we can share across the board. The closer you get to the final tokens in that context window, the model is just dumber. It just doesn't remember things that you talked about within that context session. So that's what the RLM is basically talking about, and that's what the LCM is trying to solve for. Yeah, and in this benchmark, I do truly believe it, because the biggest problem is to actually bring it the correct amount of tokens at the stage where it needs. So if you are constantly pushing, let's say 20,000 rolling context window, it's going to be very sharp. It's going to be on top of its game. It's not usable for everything. It's usable for certain use cases. It's kind of good for tracking and like historically navigating your conversations. Absolutely usable for things like OpenClaw, Hermes, NanoClaw, PicaClaw, whatever claw. Highly usable for that, because it needs to constantly be refreshed as you are typing messages to it. But for things like, oh, I have 5 gigabytes of data, maybe a little bit iffy. You would have to bend it a little bit to fit that shape. Trending on GitHub. Let's see. Understand anything. It's a universal understanding framework. You basically, if you did anything, document, data, image, and you get an understanding of what it is. To which degree it is like super accurate, not sure, but they claim that it is highly, highly accurate. Again, when we think about it from the perspective that you're basically doing one-off calls, like what is this? You can pretty much do the same thing using your regular AI tool in a harness. It might be interesting if you are building some sort of identification tool, let's say some sort of OCR or something that where you take an image of a fruit or a vegetable or an insect and you need to know what it is. CC Switch, cross-platform agent desktop. Basically, you can switch between every CLI there is. If you are struggling, like, oh, this tab is Claude Code, this tab is Codex, this tab is something else, this unifies everything, and you basically have one interface through which you are switching things. It's a tool. It's not something that is absolutely necessary, but it's one of the more liked repos in the markets today. Markdown is actually quite interesting. It's made by Microsoft, and the general aim is basically take, currently they have PDF, docx, PPTX, and HTML, but soon should be pretty much every surface that Microsoft has in their Office suite and converting that into a Markdown file. Because everybody uses Markdown nowadays. You don't really want to have like a massive CSV, XML, etc. Eventually everything will be added, so you can transform any structure into an MD file. Keep an eye on this one. And this is a fun one. I haven't tested it, to be honest. Money Printer Turbo. If you want to print money, turbo mode. It's automated content and video pipeline from script to voiceover, creation of video and export. Be very careful about this, because all of the platforms are putting guardrails around AI generated content. So it's not going to be feasible for a long, long time if you are doing only AI. Also, don't reproduce your own face with AI. Usually that's a no-no. Yeah, some of the quick hits, and I didn't even look into all of these, to be honest, but CNN sues Perplexity, apparently. Lawsuit alleges that AI-generated answers substantially copy CNN's original reporting. Yeah, that's pretty much the case for all of the content on the internet, especially with what Google is doing. If you generate an article or something interesting that you know is going to get hits, they just take it, steal it, and put it into their AI answers. So the lawsuit will be quite nice if it goes the CNN way, because then it will mean that we do have some leeway and some precedence to actually protect our content. Anthropic revenue is still climbing. They're burning like 30 billion, but yeah, they're getting a lot more customers who are spending more than $1 million a month. Oh, sorry, a year. And yeah, IPO is expected in October with, if I'm not mistaken, $900 billion valuation, which is kind of like, why would you invest in that? You believe it's going to hit like 15 trillion to 15x your money? I don't know. OpenAI content provenance, advanced watermarking and provenance standards for AI-generated content. This is going to be very funny because Image2 is currently widely used to generate content for social media. We've touched upon some of the techniques that are being used, especially with layering of a certain gradient, to identify that the content is AI generated, but they're advancing the watermarking even more. So it might be the case that if you have a heavily AI made site or a heavily AI made post, you will start to get penalized. I don't know, but honestly, I would kind of welcome that. Not gonna lie. I love AI and everything around it, but like the amount of slop that is out there on the market right now, it's unfathomably bad. And Copilot migration, basically, even those diehards that were like, okay, our company pays for this, or let me just use Copilot because of X, currently they are just out of bullets. Like, there is nothing, literally nothing, that makes GitHub Copilot good. So.
Can you go back to the last slide?
Yeah, sure.
Can you tell me about two things here? One is, did you talk about the automated content video pipeline?
Yeah, this one.
So,
Unprinted.
from what?
It's one of the trending repos. So
Okay. How's it work? Is it?
I didn't test it personally. I just skimmed the.
Okay, and the other thing is, what was that that Andy talked about that told you what the current trending repos were?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
I have it bookmarked. Just give me a sec. Let me. Trendshift.io. So this is an interesting thing if you want to take a look at what's currently trending on GitHub. Like for example, OpenCut, open source alternative to CapCut. How good will it be? Who the hell knows? But it's something that is currently trending. Didn't really look into it. I'm a big fan of Cap. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically Luma that you can, not Luma, Loom that you can self-host. It also has video editing features. Very, very, very good piece of software. And, oh, we didn't talk about this one because I didn't install it yet, but has anyone tried the new PewDiePie's Odysseus? This thing? It basically is an amalgamation of a bunch of open source repos, pretty much what I'm building, but PewDiePie. So a lot of traction just because he is like a massive celebrity of 38,000 stars, Jesus Christ. And I think it was published like yesterday. 3 days ago is the TOML file for the project.
And what is how do you think about what does he bring inside? How come in one day a project can gather 40,000 stars? I don't understand.
Well, if you make a video that has 1 million views, you can get 30,000 stars. I mean, that's just law of mathematics of how videos work. But in general, when you take a look just on onto this screen, you have a brain, therefore there is a memory system. You have nodes, therefore there is a knowledge system for documents. Library, pretty much the same thing. Gallery, he claims that you can hook it to an image generation agent. Cookbook is basically for workflows. Compare, oh yeah, that's for running multiple agents simultaneously. So if you fire off one prompt, you can let the same prompt run across different harnesses and different models. In his case, I would assume it will be just different models. Then you have the calendar, which basically allows you to set up cron jobs and things to do at certain day and time. Theme, self-explanatory. Mine just switched to dark. And things like tools, emails, etc. will be in external connectors. What he uses under the hood, I don't know. I didn't check into it currently. I will eventually, because why the hell not? But effectively, it looks like any other agentic tool on the market, even the one that I'm about to showcase right now. Take it, play with it. If you have fun with it and it serves your purpose, there is, I think, 80 or 90 contributors, 128 contributors. So, in general, think about all of this and all of the open source repos from a perspective. If a project is hyped, it might have a lot of contributors at the start. This is a hyped project. Eventually, there will be a couple of maintainers, a couple of diehards that will die with the project, and we will keep maintaining it until whoever how long. If you are building something that already has the primitives that you want to build, if it's a close approximation, there is just a small thing that is different, and you have these 3 beautiful letters, MIT, in the license, just take it. I mean, for a lot of people, it's basically a badge of honor. I created a project, it is popular, it has many stars. For you, it's a stepping stone. You can progress your development way, way, way further and way faster than you would normally do. So in general, don't try to reinvent the wheel. If there is something that is already good and there's hundreds of people working on it, as a solo dev, you have very little chance to actually catch up. And usually things are going to break and you will be the one that's stuck fixing it. Lesson learned, even from my perspective, at a certain point I was modifying PI harness to be fully agentic, to work for my purposes, etc. At a certain point I realized, what the hell, I'm just reconstructing OpenClaw. Why would I try to compete as a singular developer with 1,500 contributors into OpenClaw? Like whatever they do, even if half is broken, the other half is going to progress so much faster and so much further than I ever would. There are very individual and niche use cases for custom development. If you have a specific vertical, domain knowledge, or some really cool idea that no one else did, do that. Otherwise, think from the perspective of composing what is already out there is going to triumph, win in a short term, 100% of the time, will get you to money faster. So,
yeah, I have a practical question, and I think a similar question was asked also in Saturday's meeting, which is there are so many tools, and each time something new comes out, and I completely agree that it makes sense. Why would they reinvent the wheel? But practically speaking, tools are solutions to some problems, and sometimes or often I think first I'm not aware about the best problem definition myself. Second, if I'm aware, if I just ask Claude, somehow it's not doing a good job recommending. And then when it comes to finally, maybe I have some recommendations, I still don't know how much investment it is, and I don't know when to stop. Do I stop or not? And then the complexity of all of this now makes me, me personally, I just say, if I can build it, let me try to build it myself, because everything I will learn, and this I'm not sure. How would you maybe suggest an alternative?
Okay, in general, 100% of the time, I would offload into a stable solution if there is a stable solution for a certain problem. Now, with every app, every development has a life cycle, and along that life cycle, you start figuring out, oh, I need this. Oh, I need to handle this. I need to solve for this. Whatever you started off with. Let's say you started off with, I want to make an app where you take a picture of food and it will tell you how many calories it has. And I want to monetize it. So suddenly you start with an OCR. I want to identify what's there. I need to ping an API if I have this is chicken breast. I need to ping an API to bring me how many calories it has. That's cool. Yeah, of course. Hack at it. Make that up. And then you start going into the problematics. Okay, so now I need to have user accounts. Do I do user accounts? Or do I look for a solution out there and just bake it into my app? Oh, I need this. Do I look for a solution somewhere and bake it into my app? Or do I build it from scratch myself? I need to handle payments. Oh, do I use this? Do I use that? And that basically resonates across the entire architecture, across the entire code base. So you might start with something that is, again, domain expertise, a niche problem that you're trying to solve. But the moment you start solving the common problems, there is a high likelihood that something out there is already solving it and solving it way better than you would. Then, in turn, it kind of bloats your code base because it's not a first grade, it's not natively there.
So I think I got it now. The prompt is this a problem that is typically solved? And if it is, go and research.
Yes, 100% of the time. I would argue, like, let's say you're making an e-commerce store. Like, don't solve for a shopping cart. Don't solve for payments. Don't solve for accounts. Go, I don't know, Clerk. Go Stripe. Go Shopify.
And practically, when it does search, would you recommend going through GitHub repos and look at stars, or what?
This is a deep topic nowadays because GitHub stars have been compromised. Back in the day, a year ago, 10,000 GitHub stars meant, oh my God, this is a good project. 100,000 stars was effectively reserved for things like, oh, this is Laravel, this is like PrestaShop, OpenCart, something that's open source, been on the market for 10 years, or it's like a foundational language, foundational framework, whatever. You have that on GitHub, it has 100,000 stars, it is 100% reliable. Nowadays, you can purchase like fake stars. And a lot of Silicon Valley startups have started doing exactly that. So I'm not sure. I can't give you like a good answer to this question. Because yeah, you have to go on GitHub, you have to look through the public repos, but how good are they? I don't know. What I look for personally, if it has been on the market for at least 2-3 months, it's quite novel, it's something that's solving a novel problem around AI, that's usually what I look for. And if the amount of commits, pushes, merges is actually reasonable. So it's not 3,000 over 3 months, but it's also not 3. So I try to gauge with this how many issues have been closed, how many pull requests have been approved, what are they using for verification of individual requests. Those are kind of important questions for me nowadays. The amount of stars, not that much. It's impressive, but as you can see, Mila Jovovich basically stole a memory system of the dev. I didn't say stole, but contracted someone to make a memory system, gave that dude 0 credits, put it out there, and just with her brand, with her likeness and social reach, she got like a bazillion stars. Are those stars credible, or are they just fans clicking a like button on something else than a regular post? That's the problematic question nowadays, and specifically the purchasing of GitHub stars, because that's unfortunately one of the metrics that like VCs are using. Do you have traction? 20,000 GitHub stars in 3 days? Fuck yeah, let me invest. But those are fake, right? But in the meantime, they clear a $2 million check. They give themselves salaries, project fails, but money earned, right? So yeah, GitHub stars, I don't know, man. Let's take a look at the Aeon, because that one is really interesting and I think you'll like it. Aeon UI, and I think I have it running somewhere as well. So, Aeon UI looks, feels, and works like a Codex app. Where it differs is it allows you to basically plug in any CLI that you have in your system into a chat thread and organize the individual agents into teams. So you talk to one and it delegates into others. I did not look under the hood yet, but I definitely plan to, even tonight, because I need to do evaluation against the system that I'm building. If it's better or worse, should I pivot or not? And basically, this is how it, let me just drag this over here. So this is how it looks. You can generate a team where the team leader will be one of the agents, either through a CLI or, I don't know, there are some pre-made teams. It works through a folder system, so very similar to how you granulate projects in Codex app or Claude's desktop. Now, you can create a scheduled task, which is basically just a prompt-based cron job. Where was it? These are the pre-burned assistants. So like 3D morph into PPT, like turn a GLB 3D model into cinematic morph presentation. Keep in mind, all of these are essentially just skill packs and plugins in the system. There is nothing really proprietary about these agents, no custom and superb way of how do we actually do stuff. It's mostly a bunch of plugins and skills that had been curated so you can generate a very comprehensive and a complete agentic experience out of this. But yeah, so 21 assistants literally out of the box. You can create your own where you give it a name, select the main agent, give it rules in the markdown formats, assign it skills. There are some built-in skills that you can give it, and these are the auto-injected skills that basically have to be there in order for the actual app to work. So skill packs, plugins, that's essentially it. In capabilities, you have skills and tools. Tools are currently very, I don't want to say primitive, but they're constrained towards MCPs. And for better or worse, there is a ton of MCPs out there on the market. So you can connect whatever the hell you want. If you already have some MCPs or you constructed your own, you can port them over quite easily. Speech to text, I don't know what it's using. Oh, it's bleh. Nothing local. I hate that. Because it's a macOS app, I highly recommend Mac Parakeet for all of your transcribing needs. This uses OpenAI Whisper or DeepGram Nova. Because it's base URL optional, I do assume you can put in any OpenAI compatible endpoint for TTS. In terms of display, you have basic skinning. It's kind of meh. This is a thing that I'm kind of interested in, which is the remote web UI. If you can wrap this into an app, you actually have true portability. I don't know how they are deploying this headlessly, so I need to take a look into that. My general idea and what I'm building currently for a different project is that there is a daemon that runs locally with all of your agentic thingies, and there is a daemon that runs on a VPS. And you can infer from your local interface, which is this app, for example, or my app, for that matter, you basically connect to the remote agent in which the daemon session is always on. So even if you close the lid and you come back, it just kind of brings back whatever was in that conversation, and you can continue on your merry day. If you want to have interaction with it using phone, they do allow that, but I do assume if you are going from the app standpoint, it actually needs to be up and running, because that's how it usually works. I think, hello Andrew, you shared that there is currently a hook that allows you to operate things even when the screen is locked on macOS.
For macOS, yeah.
Yeah, so.
It's a setting in Codex too, so you can like ping your Codex to wake up even if it's locked. It depends on, you need to give permission, otherwise it's locked by password. So, but it's a setting.
There is the key point is that there is a setting.
Yeah.
So yeah, desktop pets. What the hell?
What it can't do is if it's not running and it's locked, it won't start it up.
So desktop pads break the app. Good to know. And in terms of system, you basically have your basic settings that you would normally have, where is the default work directory, log directory, and yada yada yada. In terms of agents, it automatically tells you what you have installed. As far as I know, there's like 20 harnesses that they to talk about certain things. All these boots.